Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. I'm happy to be with you today. This is the first day of another week, the week after Thanksgiving. And I hope you had a really great day. I hope your Thanksgiving was just spectacular. And if it was a little less than that, I hope you still find ways to be thankful for what God is doing in your life. For now, the next 2 weeks, I'm going to talk about a fellow in the Old Testament named Joseph. There are a lot of things we can learn from his life that apply to ours, and that's what I want to try to take a look at. Now, after these 2 weeks, we start Advent, and we'll change the subject matter again. But for now, let's think about Joseph. You'll find his story beginning in the 37th chapter of Genesis. So let's start with the second verse of this beginning story. This is the account of Jacob and his family. When Joseph was 17 years old, he often tended his father's flocks. He worked for his half-brothers, the sons of his father's wives. But Joseph reported to his father some of the bad things his brothers were doing. Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other children because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day, Jacob had a special gift made for him, a beautiful robe. But his brothers hated Joseph because their father loved him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say one kind word to him. Well, here we set the stage for something that's not going to be good. You can just sense it for the fact that Joseph is blabbing about what his brothers are doing, and we don't know what they were doing. We don't even know if it really was as bad as Joseph was making it. But clearly, Joseph knows he's better than the rest, or at least he is in his father's eyes. And it says he was working for the brothers, so clearly, here's a guy who's at the bottom of the totem pole, so to speak, and he evidently doesn't like being there. So then it tells us that Jacob loved Joseph more than the others. Here's the first wrong in this story. A parent should not love one child more than another. They just shouldn't. As I've told my kids many times over the last few years, I'm a parent. I don't have the luxury of choosing sides. I love each of my children, and I'm not going to indicate that I love one more than the others. You can't do that. If you have done that, you need to stop. If you haven't done it, then don't start doing it. Kids are all different. Joseph was different from his brother for many reasons. But Jacob obviously loved Joseph more, and he showed it by making him this special coat. Now, that coat comes into the story a little bit later, but he makes his special coat, and it says that his brothers hated him. And they hated him because he was loved more than the rest of them. Now, in all fairness to Joseph, at this stage of the game, we don't know that he did anything to justify the hate. Well, we know he told on them. We don't know what he told them, so that was wrong. But the fact that their father loved Joseph more than the rest of them did not mean that it was Joseph's fault. Now, it could be that Joseph was encouraging this, and that's why he talked to his dad. And if a child's doing that, that's wrong. But the bottom line is the brothers hated him. And they said here, they couldn't say one kind word to him. You know, words matter. What comes out of your mouth counts. It counts for a lot of things. And when we say negative things about people, that shows our true quality of character. Now, I don't mean that you have to like everybody. Doesn't mean you have to pal around with everybody. Doesn't mean you have to agree with what everybody's doing. But there's a difference between that and hating them. And I know hate's a pretty strong word. And I know a lot of people would say, well, I don't hate them, but everything else they say about them looks like they do. You can't fool God when it comes time to your words. You just can't. And the words that Jacob communicated to his other sons by his actions spoke loudly. Whatever Joseph said spoke loudly. And if you read just past this, he has a couple of visions that indicate he's better than the rest, and he doesn't mind telling them that. So perhaps the brothers have reason to dislike Joseph. But that's different than hating them. And I'm sure on a day-to-day basis, since they were all working together, they had exchanges. And I'm sure those exchanges weren't the best that they could have been. You and I are called to watch what we say. Watch what we say about others. Watch what we say about ourselves. I know a lot of people who constantly put themselves down. They can't do anything right, or so they say. Just recently, a lady asked me to pray at a certain function, and I said, well, you can do that. Oh, no. She says, I can't do it. I do it at home, but I can't do it in a setting like that. And I said, well, all you have to do is close your eyes, and you don't even know people are there. But you see, she's already decided she can't do that. And nothing I say or do will change that. It'll take a miracle from God to work with her own heart to get her to see that she could pray in a group like that. And I'm betting when she's in another group, not just her family, but people she feels real comfortable with, I'm betting she will pray there. You see, we cannot use words to hinder people or hinder ourselves. If we do, we miss out on all the goodness that God has for us. In today's world, we hear a lot of bad words. It seems as though there's a game. Who can outworse the last worse? There's no limit to how ugly people can talk. There's no limit to how ugly people can think. And the brothers talk and think ugly. And we're going to read about that gets them in big trouble. The same's true for you and me. So I want to encourage you today. Think about what you say. Think about what you say to yourself, which may not be verbal. It just may happen in your head. Use words that are kind and graceful and lift up and communicate love to people and yourself, not words that are not. Don't be like Jacob was and deliberately show favoritism to those around you or kids. Don't show favoritism to others instead of you. A lot of folks are hurting today, and they're hurting because of words that have been used. I hope that's not talking about you, but if it is, you can change it. God can change it. You just have to let him work in your life and try harder to watch what comes out or goes to your head before you say it. What do you think about that? I hope you have a great day. I hope it's fantastic. Hope the weather's great where you are. And thanks so much for listening. If you have a need or a concern, let us know. We'll do whatever we can as fast as we can to help meet your need. God bless you. I'll be back tomorrow with some other ideas from the life of Joseph.